Hello everyone, welcome to ReachIvy's webinar series, Know Your Top Colleges. ReachIvy is a premium education and careers advisory. And I'm Grishma Nanavaty, partner and lead counselor at ReachIvy. With me today, I have Alex Lawrence, who is the Assistant Dean and Director of MBA Admissions and Financial Aid at UCLA Anderson School of Management. He's also an alumnus, which means he truly knows the school inside out. Welcome, Alex.
Good morning. Good evening.
Thanks. So Alex, you've been Assistant Dean and Director for the past 6 years. Before that, Alex spent 8 years as an Executive Director of Anderson's Mba Program. After graduating from Anderson with his MBA in '99, he spent 5 years working as a management consultant for Capgemini before finding his way back home to Anderson, where you've been ever since. And then the other aspect of your background is you're a highly trained engineer. You hold both a master's and bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Georgia Tech and Resco. Wow, so you know it's great. You really are in sync with your MBA group because you've got the engineering background, you've got the consulting background, you've got a little bit of everything. So that's great.
Yes, thank you.
Great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive straight into the questions. Alex, 13 Nobel Prizes, 12 MacArthur Fellows, more NCAA titles than any university, and more Olympic medals than most nations. UCLA's faculty and alumni have helped create the internet and pioneered reverse osmosis. I can truly go on and on. So, but let me ask you, can you share a little bit about UCLA and the Anderson School of Management with us?
Sure. Again, you know, I'm a little bit biased since I graduated from the school.
Sure.
I get a paycheck from the school, but it's a beautiful campus. It's really bigger than what people think. I always encourage, if you can, visit because it will blow your mind. UCLA Anderson is just a small campus on the larger UCLA campus. The program has a number of smart people, a lot of people from different backgrounds from all over the world. So they're not just engineers like myself. There are people with business backgrounds. There's people who come from the political science arena. And as many different backgrounds there are people with different ideas with what they want to do with an MBA, management consulting, financial services, entrepreneurship, entertainment, marketing. A number of companies are also sort of interested in our top talent. Amazon, Google, McKinsey, Goldman Sachs, you name it. So all that happens right there in Los Angeles, which is a beautiful city. And just being in the heart of LA, the campus has so many sort of connections that help our students have a unique MBA experience. We can talk a lot about that later.
Absolutely. So like you said, being in that environment, having that campus, like it's not just you're isolated with the Anderson School of Management, you also have UCLA and then the city as a whole. So it's a great place to be. If I could focus more on the program, there's a lot of diversity and options in the MBA program at Anderson. I mean, we've got, in addition to the core classes and electives, you have specialization options, communication workshops, leadership building, the capstone field study. Could you maybe talk more about the MBA program, maybe more curriculum detail, the teaching styles, anything distinct that you'd like to highlight about the MBA program specifically?
Sure. So we started overhauling the curriculum 6 years ago, making it more flexible for the students depending on their career choices. So for example, if you are focused on a career in finance or marketing, you have an option on when you need to take those core classes so that better prepares you for the interviewing process in January. But to even back up further, 2 years ago, we decided to start school earlier. So now our students begin school the first week of August, compared to before that, they would start at the end of September. And the idea, again, is to have our students better prepared for the career prep activities. So our students are well versed, well ready. They sort of have figured out what they really want to do versus what they write in their applications by the time they are meeting with employers. But to talk more about the curriculum, the flexibility starts even in the second quarter, the winter quarter when they're first year, where they can begin to start taking electives. When you look at the second year, there's at least 9 of the 12 academic slots devoted to those electives in the specializations that you mentioned. But even going back to what I was describing earlier, if you want to have an academic experience that's all case study based, you can do that. If you would rather interface with practitioners or lecturers who have their own businesses or have more real world experience versus somebody who does a deep dive into research, you can do that. The best classes require our students to go out into the Los Angeles community and interact with the business and bring in some of their homework assignments into the classroom. And in some cases, those individuals are coming in the classroom to teach the courses, or they're sort of in a joint partnership trying to work through a particular business challenge. Last year, we had a course in partnership with Google on digital marketing. So the students not only learned from 6 different Google executives how Google does marketing, but at the same time, they had some very interesting projects that were on the cutting edge of digital marketing. So again, that's just sort of a snapshot of sort of like the different unique experiences that you can have. And, I always say at the end of the day, one of the top 2 reasons individuals are looking to get an MBA are career related, which is exactly why we build our curriculum to help support our students.
Wow. I want to go back and join the program. It's great. So you can really cater it based on your strengths. Like you said, if you want all case-based, if you prefer the practical learning, electives, so there's a lot of flexibility and kind of, allowing you to play on your strengths into the program. So that really brings me to what's a typical day? Is there a typical day in the MBA program? Could you maybe describe for us what a student, I guess in second year probably be more diverse, at least a first year student, what they would be going through today, maybe 1 or 2 more specific classes or professors that you can share details about?
Sure. So, at this point in time, there is no typical day in the sense for our first year students because they've already completed 3 courses since the beginning of August. And now they're starting to get into the phases of really doing a deep dive into their career selection. But on a typical day, they would come onto the campus. They may, dive directly into a particular course, like a core class in finance or marketing or strategy. After the class, which are typically 2 hours, then they'll probably have a student meeting because many of our courses require a lot of collaboration, a lot of sort of work that people are contributing their own ideas, their own thoughts to meet the assignment. After a student meeting, they may go grab lunch with some other friends, some other classmates. Me in admissions, I'm always looking to leverage our current students. So some students will take the opportunity to have coffee with a prospective candidate who's visiting the campus. The afternoon might be filled up with some individual work that the student wants to complete for a particular assignment. Others may go to the gym. Others may go to a speaker series that the dean may be conducting. Some other individuals may have an academic internship, so they're off to run and do a couple hours at their partner organization. The evenings are probably devoted to, again, some study time. And then, of course, it being Los Angeles, some will go out and enjoy some of the nightlife activities as well, blow off a little steam before school starts again the next day.
Absolutely, and that's a very important part to have kind of a holistic experience. my next one, this is a statistic I found on your website, that in the class of 2017 internships, 89.7% switched either industry or function, and 65.4% switched both. Wow, that's a number. You know, 'cause generally MBA aspirants go to the MBA program to switch careers or for entrepreneurship or really to boost their career trajectory. So that's really really great to see. So how does that happen? What support does Anderson provide MBA students to? First of all, maybe if you could talk about to switch careers, and then also another thing that Anderson's known for is entrepreneurship. So how does the program help students who are looking to enter those two areas?
Sure. So I think we have the best, if not probably one of the best, top career management programs in the world. It's rated and ranked each year in the top 5, depending on whatever rating agency you do look at. But our Park Career Management Center starts engaging with our admitted students way in advance of them actually coming on campus. So to give you an idea, as early as April, the Career Management Center will reach out to individuals asking them to start thinking about, again, from a career standpoint, why they chose Anderson. What do they want to get out of the program? Students start receiving homework assignments. They are asked to revamp their resume from what they submitted in their MBA application to make it more industry specific. So if you're focusing on, say, a career management consulting, they're going to really make sure that you have the right terminology, words that are going to be easily searched on by firms. They're going to ask you to do homework on, say, 2 companies that you think you really want to work at, so you understand what's the culture of that firm, what are the hiring needs, what are the qualifications of individuals they're seeking. And other homework assignments may include a 30-second pitch. So you need to start developing what that looks like, what that sounds like when you start getting into those networking situations. So accumulation of all these homework assignments is necessary so that when they actually do come on campus starting in August and they start integrating or interfacing with their counselor, then they start working through like, okay, do you really want to do a career in management consulting? Do you really want to work at, say, a company like BCG? For some students, that homework does reinforce the ideas that they had thinking about getting an MBA. For some, it may require them to have some additional thought and really self-reflection to think, is this really the right career choice for me? Working with their career coach, then they start going down a path where, okay, now we need to get you ready for when employers do come on campus in the fall, starting in October, where these employer briefings, they start understanding, again, what are the hiring needs. They start networking. They start meeting with alumni at these firms. And, just to advance that sort of experience forward, January, when the actual interviews do start on campus or off campus, our students are really better prepared. Now, we do have a counselor within the Parker Career Management Center who does work with those individuals, but obviously they're on a different sort of trajectory. They may not necessarily launch their own firm. Maybe they want to look at opportunities with a smaller company like a startup to get that experience as well. But those who really go into the deep end of the pool of trying to launch their own company, they have an experience through our business creation option, or BCO, where they're taking those entrepreneurial classes, writing a business plan, a new venture initiation, with the hopes and expectations of them participating in, say, business plan competitions, starting your own organization. They're competing for prize money, having angel and venture capitalists in the audience who, whether they, get funding or perhaps somebody can sit on their board, is some of those exciting opportunities, with hopefully the idea that by the time they're graduating or post-graduation, their organization, their thought idea is much further along. They've worked in partnership with our Price Center for Entrepreneurship to get them the tools necessary for them to launch after graduation and be successful.
Wow, that's great. So really, a lot of opportunity for career switchers to also, from the career center to the classes to, just taking advantage of everything that you offer on campus, and for entrepreneurs too. And the best thing is you've got them starting to think early. Because a lot of times, like you said, people come on campus and September time frame, and then you're first getting acclimated to a new environment, going back to studying after a long time, and then bang, you're right, like October, recruiters are coming, so you don't have that time to really introspect and polish your skills. So it's great that they've got April to really start thinking before they're even on campus, so they can kind of do their due diligence beforehand, which is super. So, and then you start earlier as well, so that gives you a little bit more room. So like, and no wonder you've got such wonderful statistics to boast about. That's super. That's really great. I'd like to change more tracks and build more about the class profile. Maybe perhaps, obviously the website states that, the GMAT score or the undergrad GPA or average years of work experience that a student needs. But could you share with us a little bit more insight into what are you looking for in a student? For example, one thing is the work experience. I know the average is 5, but Anderson's open to having students who are recent graduates or earlier career. Could you maybe talk about those different elements, like what you're looking for in a student?
Sure, yeah, so I'll address the work experience. I always tell people it's not about the quantity, it's more the quality of the work. So yes, we've admitted people with 2 years of work experience. We admitted people with more than 5 years of work experience. Obviously, it's more about fit. What does the MBA do for you at this point in your career? How can it be helpful? How can the UCLA Anderson MBA get you to the next stage in your career? I was speaking with a candidate earlier this morning, and she just graduated from undergrad, and she's like, I want to get my MBA this year. I'm applying. And I'm like, well, you have to really think about not only from an admission standpoint, whether you're going to get into business school, but how will employers or a company of your preference, how are they going to look at you? Many of the organizations are looking for candidates who are going to be bringing their pre-MBA experience as much as what the tool sets and skills that you're going to get from the MBA to their organization. So that's one thing definitely consider on the work experience side. From the other parts of sort of the profile, yes, there is the academic and sort of the test prep or the testing performance profile that we're interested in. We want to see people having success academically, them showcasing their quantitative rigor, because we do have a demanding curriculum that we talked about earlier. We have a lot of smart people sitting in the classroom, a lot of great faculty and lecturers who are really going to be pushing our students to the limit intellectually. So we need to have some sort of evidence from prior experience to show that you can succeed in the classroom. Yet, no, we do not need people who have gotten, say, in the U.S. system, a 4.0 GPA all throughout their undergrad experience. We don't need to see people who only have 800 GMAT scores because, as you pointed out, all our statistics are online. Our 80 percentile range shows that we have individuals who score between 680 to 750. I've admitted individuals with test scores below a 680. I've denied people with test scores above a 750. So that's where the part of the holistic profile, the holistic review of an application is so important to us, because we know there are some people who are more accomplished in certain areas of their application or in their profile than others. Moving on to even the essays, we're really looking for people who understand and know us. So when people are tackling the essays, the short answers, asking about how would they contribute to our community, how does the Anderson MBA help them in their short-term and long-term goals, we're really looking for people to join our community where not only are we going to be able to help them, but they're also going to contribute and help us, because we're a small school, 360 students. Everybody's involved in some type of leadership activity, whether it be student government, the student clubs. working with the administration. I mentioned earlier how we overhauled the curriculum years ago. A student task force was part of that group. If you look at our profile this year compared to last year, we increased the percentage of women of 5%. There was a student task force part of that effort. So we really need everybody to be part of the community, because that's where some of the best ideas come from, including even the student conferences, the outreach from an admission standpoint, as well as from a career recruiting standpoint too. So the only other pieces that I would like, it sounds kind of cliche to say this, but when it comes to the letters of recommendation, make sure you get positive letters of recommendation. Don't write them yourself, but the letters of recommendation should be really authentic and really showcase some areas of your development, whether it be your supervisor writing about that, some areas of that might have been challenging at one point, but how you've grown. Because I do call up people who write letters of recommendation each year just to get a different viewpoint, because I only get so much information from, say, even the interviews that our candidates who've been fortunate enough to receive an invitation to do so, but I want a different perspective. And even speaking about the interviews, they are by invitation only. They are conducted by a second year. It should be more of a conversation. So some of the people who have not succeeded in an interview are those who come in with a script and they really don't engage the interviewer. So I always caution people, prepare for the interview, but don't come in with a script so it doesn't sound like you're authentic at all. You want it to be a natural conversation, because this could be a potential classmate of yours sort of in the future, because that's what our second year students are looking for. They're looking for people who could be part of a student team, part of an effort to do something on the campus, building a conference, working with the dean, whatever that may be.
Absolutely, and I'm going to definitely talk about the application a little bit more, but I just wanted to again stress on and reiterate what you said, that you can hit all those benchmarks that you have, for GPA, GMAT, years of work experience, and that still doesn't make you a right fit for Anderson. So it's really important that you pick the right program. Another thing that I see a lot on engaging with your team and on the website is finding like you're looking at the think in the next student base. Would you want to maybe elaborate on that? Like leadership, I know you said is one thing. Involvement in the community, knowing why it's the right fit school. But can you maybe talk to us about the think in the next initiative that you have at Anderson?
Sure. So when you look at our community, our students aren't necessarily just looking to get their advanced degree and becoming a managers within an organization. Our students are sort of looking at what we say the status quo, and they're challenging that. Our students have been involved and done internships with organizations like Uber or The Honest Company. Granted, they are still full-time offers with some fantastic companies like Disney. But when you look at a company like Disney that the whole entertainment and media industry as well, and they started those years ago. So we're really looking for a culture of people who are really sort of stepping outside of the comfort zone, willing to challenge how business is being done. Even in our academic institution, the whole drive for us switching a lot of the student curriculum, it was really coming from the students themselves, asking, why are we doing things the way we're doing? Why is school starting at the period it is? Why are certain courses being offered at this time of the year? Now, granted, we don't necessarily implement all of the ideas, but those are the kind of individuals we're looking to. You look at some of our distinguished alumni, the CEO of YouTube, an Anderson alumna. Now you look at YouTube, it is not the traditional sort of viewing platform that many of us sort of older people have experiences with watching TV on the set-top boxes, right? you look at the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, another sort of pioneer in the financial services industry in and of itself. So again, people start understanding it when they start engaging our community more and seeing like, okay, that's what thinking the next means. You know, it's again, sort of, especially us being out on the West Coast compared to say other parts of the US, lots of entrepreneurship. The spirit is really high in that area, but people, whether they join and establish a firm in the short term parts of their career, ultimately they may gravitate to something a little bit more entrepreneurial because they have an idea of how to do things differently to make it better for everybody to benefit.
Absolutely, and I guess that's why your essay is not just asking about goals, but they're asking about how UCLA, even your short question was, you know, how are you going to contribute to the UCLA Anderson community? So I think, you know, it's important to take advantage of the environment you're in, but also give back to the environment you're in as well. And I guess all the things that you just spoke about, you know, your alumni database, all the things that you're looking for in a student, your application is where all of that is going to reflect, right? From your essays, your resume, your letter of recommendation, all of those need to kind of showcase who you are and why you're the right fit for the school. And this is where all your homework about the school comes in, because then you have a good idea whether you're the right fit. You talked a little bit about the letter of recommendations, and then, you know, we have a lot of people, again, entrepreneurship was, you know, we have family business, or who should they ask to write? I mean, obviously, dad would be a great recommendee, but not the ideal one for an MBA application. Any tips for people who come from, you know, business, or maybe there's someone who can't ask their immediate boss because they don't know they're leaving, or someone who's a recent graduate? Any tips on who they should be considering for a letter of recommendation?
Sure. So as I mentioned before, we're really looking for a different viewpoint, something that's authentic from an individual. So other than, say, your best friend. So in many family businesses, we totally understand it's a smaller, it's possibly a smaller enterprise. However, we really don't want, say, a letter of recommendation from your mom or your dad or your cousin. So we typically advocate that you should think about maybe getting a letter of recommendation from a client. That could be useful. I know, like you mentioned, some people who are recent graduates, maybe they don't have the longevity of that experience, or maybe their employer is not the best person to get it from. So possibly a community service type of organization that you've been involved with as well could be useful. But when you look at the kind of information we're asking for, we really want people who can, in more the shorter time frame, speak to your abilities and your accomplishments. So we frown upon reaching out to, say, an acquaintance and a professor, or even a former employer 4 or 5 years ago, because, you know, the touch point is not as recent, and maybe they may not be able to answer many of the questions that we're asking on the form itself. But, you know, again, we understand if you're coming from a family business or you're a recent graduate, you may not have all those resources. So in some cases, use possibly the optional essay to explain why you've chosen the person that you have for the letter of recommendation, because maybe it is a unique circumstance.
It's great that I think you read my mind, because I wanted to ask you about the optional essay. I mean, who is it ideal for students? I mean, I can understand maybe if someone has a gap in their work history or an unusual circumstance. Could you maybe just give us some insight into, I mean, what are you looking for in the optional essay, or who should it be targeted towards?
Sure. So I always like to say that you never want the admissions committee to guess on any aspect of your application. If you think it's sort of like a red flag, then we're probably thinking the same thing. So you mentioned some examples, gaps in employment. We understand from an academic standpoint, not everybody has like a stellar academic history, right? So there might be points where maybe health issues or some other circumstance that didn't allow you to perform to the best of your abilities academically as well. That might be an opportunity just to share that in the optional essay too. But we don't want to hear or read about why you didn't necessarily do well on the GMAT or the GRE. Those things, again, we totally understand, but we're really looking for unusual circumstances. It's not an area for you to reinforce information that we have seen before. I think we do a good job in the application for you to enter as much information as possible. For example, some people say like, oh, there's this great work experience from an internship standpoint, but I don't have it on my resume. Again, in our application, we allow you to put I would say a lot of different employment experiences in there. Some people say like, oh, I don't think you really get a chance to understand who I really am. Between the essays and the resume, it does give us a really good picture, again, of who you are. Your motivations would come through the essays as well. The optional essay may be an opportunity to expand on that a little bit more. But again, we're not looking for people to sort of regurgitate information that we know already and have seen in other parts of the application already as well.
Right, thank you. And you spoke about the essay and the interview and everything earlier as well, so thanks for giving us a little bit of insight into the application. The other element is we have reapplicants, students who we get who applied on their own previously and now are applying through ReachIvy, and they're very, very committed to UCLA. I know you have a reapplicant essay if you've applied within the past 2 years. You have to, and the letter of recommendation as well is one. But any advice for our students who are applying again?
So like the question basically states, like, what is different since the last time you did apply? So in one case, or I should say one opportunity, we do allow people to get feedback on their application at the end of every cycle, or I should say at the end of the application year. That's only available in a short time window and at the end of June and early July. So while we don't say specifically like you need to do this and you will be admitted, for those candidates who maybe didn't get a chance to take advantage of that opportunity, it's really, before you start tackling the application, start doing some self-reflection to understand where you are in relation to sort of the typical admit. The class profile is a great place to start. I know it's very numbers driven, especially with the test scores and the work experience and the academic profile as well. Some people quickly start figuring out like, okay, maybe I do need to retake the GMAT, or maybe I need to add an additional course to show that I do have the quantitative sort of proficiency, because maybe my GPA is a little bit lower compared to the rest of the class. Maybe I need to work another year. For other candidates, I say, perhaps show your essays, explain your reasonings why with somebody who really knows you well. I think, do a really good job with our student ambassadors, making sort of our community look bigger and broader than just the admissions team. So you should talk to a student, explain your reasons why Anderson is the right fit with you. Ask for some feedback, or even talk to somebody who really knows you well, and don't even tell them what the sort of the question prompt is. Explain your reasons on why you're looking at the school. What are your motivations for getting an MBA? Get some feedback so people can really start poking holes like, that doesn't make sense, or really, is that what it sounds like any other school? So get some feedback, then start tackling the question and really do a comparison of what you submitted the last time. And again, what's different this time? Because some of that people will figure out on their own, just again, based off of all the information I provided earlier, and saying between the class profile or even getting feedback from other individuals. And if you were fortunate enough to get an interview, then it may be more about your interviewing skills. So take that approach as well. Not saying it's going to be a guarantee that you're going to get an interview again the next time, but practice those skills as well, because all of it is very important, and you shouldn't mail in sort of, I know I said earlier, if you get an invitation interview, that's a good thing. Don't misinterpret that for being like you've been admitted. You still have to finish on all aspects of the application process.
Absolutely. But thank you so much for that insight. Exactly. I think it's, I mean, whether you're a reapplicant or a regular student, it's really important to do your due diligence, not, go beyond the website, reach out to ambassadors, go visit the school, all the things you've talked about. That it really helps strengthen your application, and also let the school, signal to UCLA that you're really excited, and you know why it's the right fit to a school for you. I'd like to now talk about financial aid. I know, again, I love that you have all the numbers on your website, and when we talk to you as well, you're always sharing numbers. So 75% of your class chose some form of financial assistance, and half of the students received fellowships. Could you maybe talk about, what are the options international students can have when they're looking at, financial aid or scholarships at Anderson?
Sure. So we totally recognize that getting an MBA is an expensive proposition. Like other schools, when you submit your application, you are automatically entered in for merit fellowship consideration. We try to do our best to help our students avoid student loans, but ultimately we know that you're going to have to make some commitment, whether it be from your personal finances or doing a student loan if it is available to you. We know with students from certain regions of the world, they may require a co-signer, or maybe student loans are not available. But I always say that, especially when you're looking at an MBA at Anderson, first of all, again, I know it sounds cliche, visit our website. You'll see a number of other third-party scholarship opportunities. Again, some of those international candidates may not necessarily be eligible for, but think about the other options. And this is sort of where that little bit of the leap of faith comes into play, where even if you don't receive merit fellowships as a student, there are other opportunities available, whether it be donor fellowships, whether it be an opportunity to become a student teaching assistant or research assistant. I myself was a teaching assistant for 3 different classes, and that was just built on building relationships with a professor while I was a first-year student. So when you talk to our students, nobody sort of has received the one scholarship that paid for everything. They're all sort of putting together, say, multiple sources to finance their MBA. Some are using the academic internship as a great way to pivot into a nice paying summer internship as well. So our students are very creative at making that possible. We're, I think, every year one of 5 business schools that have an affordable MBA. Again, our students graduating with the least amount of debt. So we have a fantastic financial aid that makes that happen. But for international students in particular, I would say connect with a student who has basically migrated from your region to LA, so then you can really understand what is that price tag. Yes, we're in the low $60,000 US for program tuitions. We advertise a budget of over $90,000, but that student living expenses, I've heard from some students, it's just a matter, again, of how lavish a lifestyle you want. If you want to live on the beach, if you want a studio looking at the waves crashing in every day, you're going to be paying a lot more. But if you are willing and having roommates and living like a little bit more of a frugal lifestyle where you're not eating out every night and things like that, then it's not as much. But talk to students. There's a great second-year student. Last year I traveled to India for the first time to Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, and Chennai. And he was like, please share my contact information. I can tell students, or I can tell individuals interested in Anderson how I've made it financially viable. And I didn't get a lot of different fellowships and scholarships. So Varun Shetty, he's a second-year student now, and I'll spell that out because I know people will say, how can I contact him? VARUN.SHETTY at anderson.ucla.edu. But he's on our website. He's been a great resource for me. And so, again, talk to students. We have scholarships and fellowships available and other means to make the MBA affordable.
Super. It's great that as students, willing to help other students out. And like you said, there are options available, and some of them may come, into realization once you're actually on campus, like these, RA, PAs, or even the lifestyle you lead. You may think something might be heading X and you go in another direction, but it's great, like you said, to go and actually speak to people who've been there, done that, so they'll be the right resource for you. You also spoke about the Parker Career Management Center a bit earlier on, and how early they reach out to students and how much they do to help them be, ready for internship, ready for full-time jobs. Anything you can add that they specifically do for international students? Because even for those who are looking for getting a job in the U.S., and others are looking to get the MBA and then come back to India. So anything in specific you can talk about these for international students, how the Parker Center helps?
Sure. So I mentioned before sort of all the prep work in advance. I can't emphasize enough how we have a dedicated resource that works with international students. And really, I think the importance of that is because this person has the experience and the contacts to really give our international students sort of, give them a sort of I would say like a level set in terms of what the landscape looks like. And what I mean by that, some students may be very headstrong about what they want to do, what type of organization they want to work for. But again, based on that counselor's own experience and what they've seen, maybe from a work visa standpoint, some firms are better compared to others. For those who want to return or go overseas, we do have, and it's very limited, but we do have a limited sort of program around that, including a days on the job event where students will travel internationally to only a few small regions of the world during break time to do some recruiting, some interviewing practices. When we look at other remote regions, alumni are very critical in that process. So that's where it's even more important. And I think we do a really good job from an onboarding standpoint. So when people are admitted, our alumni in the local cities, the local chapters, are very active about reaching out, welcoming people to the Anderson family to start building those relationships versus waiting 6, 7, 8, 9 months later when it comes for the interviewing process. We don't have like an extensive, say, recruiting program where we have international firms coming on the campus and interviewing those people, but it really takes, even for our domestic students who want to do something internationally, they have to take advantage of all the resources, including the alumni community and some other partners that do come on campus in a variety of ways. Faculty, they travel around the world too, so it's kind of like putting all those together to make sure that if any opportunities, that you put yourself in the best position to secure those.
Great. So, I mean, it's good to know. And like I said, the alumni network is a great resource to tap into. And the other thing is, like, you started early, so, you have the time and you have those extra months to do the networking and reaching out to the right resources. And if needed, maybe, change your career, trajectory, or kind of look at how else to maneuver it. So that's great to know that international students have these resources. I have one last question, and then I have just one student question to ask you. So you've shared a lot of wonderful insights and information with us. So thank you so much, Alex. So if you had to give one piece of advice to students interested in applying to, UCLA, to Anderson, what would it be?
Yeah, sure. So that one piece of advice, and again, I know it sounds cliche, we've been talking about it all throughout, is like connect with the student, connect with the campus if you can. If you can't visit the campus, do the combination of using the website. We have so much information on there. The testimonials, the videos, you're asking about a day in the life of a student. We have one of those. We have the faculty profiles. That combined with the whole ambassador program that we have with students, you're actually talking with a current student. You're connecting with them so that if, again, you are focused on a career in entertainment, you can connect with somebody there consulting, somebody who's doing an international assignment, maybe somebody who's gone to Anderson and returned back to your home region. We have alumni for that too. So connect with students, connect with the alumni, because you can talk to me, and of course, I'm an alumnus of the school. I love it as well, but the experience is so much different from when I was in school. But at the core of it, the culture is the same. The reasons why I chose Anderson are pretty consistent with why our students have chosen it. But the students are the ones who can really tell you about those day-to-day experiences, why they enjoy their classmates so much, and what are the opportunities that they're considering, which I think will excite individuals who are sort of that same age bracket in and of itself. And then, we haven't even talked about how we're building a new complex, the other sort of exciting areas of Los Angeles, Silicon Beach, that you can't really appreciate unless you're there. And if you can't travel, the next best thing, I think, is to use the people who are there, which include the students.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just hearing you speak. I'm so excited. And when I was there over the summer, we really enjoyed the whole campus experience. And it really opens your mind. You really get a complete understanding of not just the classroom dynamics, but, everything. And is this something you want to be part of? Because the MBA program, it is with you for life. It's something that, you tap into and you learn from and you grow with throughout your whole life. So it's very important, like you said, to really make sure that, you do your homework and make sure it's the right program and fit for you, and reach out to students and alumni and go see the campus. So thank you so much for that. It's so true. I have, actually had a lot of students write in, but I wanted to ask you one student question, if I could. We had Harsh from Surat in Gujarat saying that he already has an MBA. There's some students who do their undergrad degree, do an MBA in India, and then they realize 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years into their career that they really need they need to go abroad and have go to Anderson or school for an MBA. How do you look at students who already have an MBA? How are they regarded?
Sure. So this is for both international and domestic individuals with advanced degrees, not just even ones that say they are MBAs. Really, the governing body that we work with, they want to make sure that anybody who comes into our program is not duplicating a degree. So they look for overlapping coursework. I won't say that in MBA, if you have an MBA, that it's an automatic disqualifier from you applying. I always encourage people to contact my office through that MBA.admissions email address and explain exactly what the circumstances are. I have this degree, I have a master's in business, or I have a master's in finance degree, and explain the coursework so that we can see sort of the curriculum that you completed and see if there is any overlap. So I don't want to give you a blanket statement saying that, oh, if you have an MBA already, you can't apply, because I've seen in some circumstances, not all, but I've seen some circumstances when they've looked at the actual coursework, then there isn't any overlap or there is no concern. But I'd rather people reach out to us with the specific details in advance before applying versus being disqualified on the back end and not understanding why. We do have some of that information on our website, but there's so many different sort of circumstances, and people, obviously there's so many different universities from around the world, and what the syllabus does say that we have to look at it almost on a case-by-case basis. So reach out to my office, explain the circumstances so that we can give you the right answer.
Super, thank you. It's really great to know that, before applying, they can at least, get the answer to this question, because it's like you said, then they aren't necessarily applying, or at least then they know that, that they have a chance. But thank you so much, Alex. I really appreciate you taking the time out and talking to us. I know I learned a lot, and it was a very, very informative and insightful conversation. So thank you so much. And I know now round 1 deadline's around the corner, right? October 6th, and round 2, Jan 5th. So I wish all our students out there all the best. And thank you once again, Alex, for taking the time to talk to us.
Great. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I truly enjoy it. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you. Bye.